Welcome to Gentry's Garage. Today I'm going to be working on my buddy Paul's 1948 Austin A40. And it's an old full two chassis car. He did some trading with another race car for this. It was an alcohol car. Supposedly it was running 590s in the 8th. Little small block 406 stroker motor with a glide. And it was bright yellow. So he had it shot black last weekend. The motor's been freshened up and changed over for nitrous. We're going to change the whole car over to a nitrous car because it's a little bit easier on maintenance. The alcohol, you know, has moisture, so you have to drain your fuel system. You have to fog your engine, drain your car, make sure everything's clean because it'll corrode really fast. So that's what we're working on. Tilt front end. And then the doors lift off. So I'm gonna pull this thing apart and get ready. He's gonna show up here in a little bit and we're gonna put this thing together. Got a lot of wiring to do for the nitrous and stuff like that. We're gonna put, I don't know which ignition box we're putting in yet, but it'll have a pro billet distributor. It'll have to have some sort of retard for the nitrous and all that stuff. So, got a bunch of parts over here. He's been putting a list together for a little while. We got a bunch of parts and gonna check this thing out and hopefully get it out to the track and make some hits. This car comes apart really easy. Doors just lift off. The front end has two clips here and two bolts. And it comes off pretty easy as well. And there it is. So real easy to do. It's real easy to work on. It's got a mid plate, so you can pull the engine without the transmission being pulled. It's just real easy to work on. So I'm gonna get started on it. Okay, we're getting everything set up to start putting this thing together. And this is Paul.
Stop.
He's out here cleaning the header adapters. And then we're going to get this thing up in the air, get the transmission in it. Yeah. All right, so what we're looking at here is the brakes. And real quick, you can see there's an issue. You see the piston sticking out one side more than the other. And if you line the rotor up, it's hitting the inside of the caliper. It's not shimmed at all right. So we're going to get some shims and some new brakes and get those shimmed out right so they fit right. The only other concern I have is the residual pressure the master cylinder is holding. It holds it on the front brakes too. So once we get the car running, we'll see what we can do about that. Maybe change to a wheel wood or something with a little less residual pressure. And then Paul's over here. He's got his his stuff clean, about ready to go in. These are the motor plates.
I gotta finish cleaning those.
Got to clean the motor plates. Okay, so we got the transmission back in. I had to clean up a little bit. It's still kind of dirty down here. And we're going to come under here and paint some stuff. The shift linkage is in. The trans brake isn't hooked up yet. I got to make a fitting for that. Drive shaft is in. And it really needs to be cleaned up under there a little bit more. But it's a pretty good little setup. So we're going to get the engine put together. Got to get the oil pump put on it, water pump, everything set up on it with the front plate. Torque the flywheel down so it doesn't fall off in the middle of a run. And get that in. Got the car down off the lift, threw the tires back on just to roll it. Still got to work on those rear brakes because those calipers are not centered. But now I'm going to go ahead and put the converter in the transmission, fill the converter and then put it in the transmission and get ready to put the engine in. We got the oil drive on it, oil pump on it, the filter and everything's on. I still have to seal the water pump and the front engine mounts where they seal to the block behind the water pump, so all that's got to be sealed in between both of those. And get the engine set down in here, and then I'll start putting all the fuel system on it. So get y'all set up on something here so you can see, you know, this going together. The engine's all bolted in with the scatter shield, and the flywheel's bolted in. I had to shim the torque converter and the flywheel apart because it was going to pull the converter out of the pump. So if you pull the converter too far forward, it can come out of the front pump. And it had shims in it, and I had to check and make sure the shims that were in it were the right distance, but it still feels like it's engaging the pump, so it'll tell us real quick if it's not pumping any fluid. So radiator's sitting in there, it's just loose right now. Got to tighten it up. Fuel tank's on. I got to wipe the fuel tank down, it's really dirty. And just, you know, little things now starting to go back together. Okay, so got most of the wiring done. Just got to clean it up and loom it and button it all up. Paul's over here putting the adapters on for the headers right now. And when the motor was built, they put new head studs in it. So there's a few head studs that are a little bit long and they're hitting the adapter. So we're gonna have to do some sketchy, just, you know, cutting on a fresh motor. Fuel lines are all in. Nitrous is almost all set up. Got to do the purge yet and run the feed line for it. Built a bracket to hold all the stuff, the regulator and the nitrous solenoid on this side, or the fuel solenoid on this side. The new coil's in, built a bracket for it. That coil is specially designed for MSD Digital 7 box, or MSD 7AL box. And timing should be set for initial startup. Just got to run the plug wires and test all the systems to make sure everything's going to work before we fire it all up. I did do a little bit of testing on some of it, but I want to go through it again to make sure everything's right. The brakes still need to be bled a little bit. They're a little spongy. And just clean up a few of the wires and get some loom on it. But it's just coming together. The new slicks are on. And almost ready to fire up. So, got the headers on. Plugs are in. The engine on cranking makes 40 PSI oil pressure just on the starter. No leaks so far. We're going to do the plug wires, and this one's a 4/7 swap cam. Come here. This one's a 4/7 swap cam, so we got to swap 4 and 7. So instead of 18436572, it's 18736542. So it'll help with some harmonics in the engine at higher RPMs and some flow too. So we just did a check on all the systems. Everything works. The only thing I've got to finish is the nitrous switch and wire in the tail lights. So we're going to throw the plug wires on here, and we got to flow fuel through all the lines to get them all flushed out and make sure that's all good, and set our fuel pressures, and should be ready to fire up. So we're going to do plug wires and flow some fuel.
Here, I'll get in there,
Gordon, you want to start it? All right, so we've got everything, hopefully everything buttoned up. We're going to fire it up for the first time. Maybe.
So, this is
Maybe.
what's the second one?
Second one's nitrous. Fan, fuel pump. All right, go for it. Again. Hold on. All right, yeah. Hold on. Okay. Okay.
Do we even need this fuel gauge up here?
Not really.
You don't
I
have it
mean-
hooked up, do you?
Well, yeah, it's hooked up
For what?
to that fuel log.
Oh,
Well, it's leaking out of the accelerator pump pretty good right there. May have to pull this back apart.
Okay. Go ahead. Turn everything off. All right, we got a couple little things to troubleshoot here, but she sounds really good. All right, since the last video, we had a few issues to work through. We had a cracked transmission case and had to have a new case put it with all the other parts put in a new case. So we got that taken care of. Working through an extremely rich issue with the carburetor, and it's just dumping fuel, and it doesn't matter what I do, how I set it, what I change. It's like I got a bit metering plate or something like that. So we're gonna put a new carburetor on it, and we got a Holley. We got a Holley 950 racing double pumper to go on it. It has All nice. Red anodized, billet plates. So it's a real nice little carburetor. So I'm just gonna change it out and get this one on, button everything back up, put some new plugs in. I'm letting the engine dry out because it's just, this carburetor was dumping all of its fuel. Even after you shut the pump off, it'd sit there and just dump fuel in the cylinders. So get everything pulled off, new carb on, everything back on, put some new plugs in it, test fire it. Again, we also had an issue with the digital retard box. It wasn't working right. It was a used box he got from one of his buddies, so put a new box in it. Purge line is made, comes out right here where the old windshield wiper used to be at. Oh, and I got a new windshield in it too. So the other windshield was really scratched up. This one needs to be cleaned now. I've touched it a lot, but turned out pretty good. We're gonna replace these windows too. He's picking up some more Lexan, but I don't think we're gonna get it done before we make it to the track. So get this Holly put on, test everything out again, make sure everything's working right, and check the transmission fluid, and hopefully we'll be ready to go to the track. Okay, check these fuel leaks again. See if the same starts and how she sounds. Hold on 1 second. Let me check this box out over here. Make sure it's set right. Okay, I don't know what it was doing there. It was acting weird. And then it was fine. So. see how it starts now. It's got a little heat in it. Great. All right, so I'm gonna put the doors on this thing, clean it up a little bit, and should be ready to go to the track tomorrow morning. Kyle's gonna be here decent time in the morning. We'll get it loaded up, make sure that all his tools are together for his first trip out to the track, and we'll see what this thing will do. It seems to drive pretty good until we get out there and run it down the track at least once. We won't know, so everything looks good. Okay, so this weekend we got the car out to the track, and unfortunately their timing computers were out. They were having all kinds of issues. We got one time for the second run, but we got no 60 foots, no speed, nothing like that. We just got a time. So we were able to get a few passes in. We got 3 passes in. I made my first pass down the drag strip. Not just in that car, in any car. I've just never taken anything of mine down the drag strip. It's always been somebody else's stuff I was building, so I never drove it. I don't like driving other people's stuff a whole lot. But Paul was nice enough to let me drive his car. Continue to share the car, I guess you could say. But it did okay. We got a few things we want to work out on it. We didn't hit it with the nitrous or anything yet. It was just all on motor. So it was pretty lazy leaving the tree. It got up in the RPM and moved down the track pretty good at the big end. It wiggles a little bit, so I'm going to go through and check out some of the suspension and see if we can't get it to straighten out, because it's trying to steer to the left just a little bit. So hoping that's either a setting or the rear end's out of alignment a little bit or something like that. We do want to upgrade the coilovers, so we have some adjustment in the coilovers. But just figured I'd give you a little heads up. I'll show you some footage of the racing. Okay, well, we made it out to the track. One of us forgot the spark plugs. So we had to run back and get plugs, but car's running good. There's a lot of really cool cars out here. We're at Cedar Creek Dragway. It's a really, really old drag strip here. Been around here for a long time. They've been fixing it up, so it's looking better. They got new stands in. We'll see how the track's prepped when we get out, but looking good so far. So I guess that'll about do it for this time on Gentry's Garage. I really appreciate y'all watching. We will have this car back on the channel, I'm sure. We're also got the Gasser's going to be coming back, and the 37 Chevy. If you haven't seen any of those, if you would, just go check it out. And you know, if you have any comments, questions, just throw them down there in the bottom. I'll read them and get to them as I can, if I can, but I try to read everybody's comments and answer back. So really appreciate y'all, and y'all have a good day.